Welcome to Extra Shot. I'm Charlotte Kahn and I'm delighted to be with you for day 2 of the DSP Leaders World Forum 2023. Extra Shot, well, we use all the bits in between the great conversations we're having here at the DSP Leaders World Forum in order to review some of the sessions that have happened, welcome some very special guests, of course, and entertain you, hopefully. That's the plan anyway. So we're here with 2 very special guests indeed. We've got Guy Daniel, who's Director of Content at TelecomTV. Hello, Guy.
Hello.
With a fancy shirt, as always. Thank you very much. And we have Boyadzhieva, who's Deputy Editor at TelecomTV.
Good morning.
And good to see you here, Yanni, because you were by the coffee machine most of the day yesterday.
I was, yeah, and I will be today as well. So yesterday was a very exciting time because we were able to see a lot of people trying to give their best at the pinball tournament, which is also raising money for the National Autistic Society in the UK. At the moment, currently, our colleague Alex is leading the chart, and the most surprising...
Sorry to interrupt, that's breaking news, by the way. Neil McRae is not leading the tournament at present.
Yes, and he is number 4 at the moment. But the thing is, you need to play all of the games. You need to make one turn at each of the machines. There are 5 in total. And I think Neil hasn't had the time yet to try all of them, so maybe that's why.
Competition, we like it, don't we? So, Guy, tell us about the program today. More amazing discussions around the future of the telecom industry?
Yeah, we have. We've got a morning where we continue the main themes. We had 4 sessions yesterday looking at 4 distinct themes and the crucial elements of the transition from CSP to DSP. We're continuing that in the morning. We're looking at the emergence of AI in telecoms networks, and it's a session on being, as we call it, AI native, which is this idea of putting AI, treating it as a holistic approach, so not just use case per use case, but all through the network as a joined up use of AI. So that's first thing in the morning with my colleague Ray. Then we move on to the cloud native telco. Now, we've been covering cloud native for about 5 years now on Telecom TV. It's another crucial aspect in this transformation journey. But then in the afternoon, we do something a little bit different, and that is we're taking our online summit, the Green Network, and we're bringing it to DSP. So we've got 3 sessions purely dedicated to the Green Network.
I think that's the big novelty this year, isn't it? This emphasis on the green and the energy transition. So 2 sessions not to miss. And in fact, yesterday, Yanni, Howard Watson of BT Group really impressed the audience with his very honest talk and presentation around what the industry should do to become more sustainable.
Indeed, that was the last session for the day 1 of the event. It was a great talk, great discussion. Howard Watson from BT suggested that the telco industry is in a conundrum from maybe sometimes over-provisioning, and that it needs to pay attention to focus efforts on providing services when it's needed and making sure that energy is not unnecessarily used when demand is not that high. So what BT is doing, well, other telcos around the world as well, but BT in specific, for example, they are switching off their legacy networks, and he stressed the importance of that for saving energy. And actually, it can bring a lot of huge savings in terms of financial savings as well for the company.
So, Guy, you were sharing the stage with Ray yesterday and many other guests from the industry, top leaders in their field, of course. Can you give us your impressions or maybe your highlights of the discussions you had yesterday?
I don't do impressions because my impressions are absolutely terrible. But in terms of highlights of what we spoke about, I think we started with one of the biggest highlights, and that was Ray's session where we were looking with Scott Petty of Vodafone Group at the transition from Telco to Techco, and why that resonated with me, and I think many in the audience, was this focus on people and its skills and its culture and its education, and there's a lot of issues there that are in flux at the moment and are changing and needing to change. Every session had a highlight, but for me, I think that was important, that we don't just look at technology, that we have to look at culture and people.
Absolutely. And how would you describe the atmosphere currently for this year DSP Leaders World Forum?
Well, I think like last year, because we were in the same venue as we were last year, and we really wanted last year, after the pandemic, it was a chance for people to get back together in person, and we didn't want them just to go through the motions of being at a conference. We wanted them to get involved, participate, feel like they're important and their views are important. So we give them lots of time. We give them time in the networking breaks to talk to colleagues, meet new colleagues, and a lot of discussions go on outside and away from the formal sessions, and that helps with the atmosphere, I think, and that brings everyone together, and there's such a lot of camaraderie here, and ideas, and you talk to people all the time, and they're telling me that they're coming up with some new ideas between colleagues, or they're coming up with some new alliances and what have you, so I think it's to me, it's been very upbeat and very positive, and I know the industry is going through difficult times. It often does. It fluctuates, but I do feel that the mood is still positive, despite setbacks. The mood is still positive.
So a very friendly atmosphere indeed, and a very trusting atmosphere. That's important, isn't it? In order to encourage people to have real important talks and change things within the industry. But nevertheless, we have important discussions here, and one was about standardization, for instance, yesterday, Yanni.
Well, yes, that was still part of the last session with Howard Watson on how to bring more energy efficiency while still not compromising service innovation. And the panelists gathered around the opinion that there needs to be common standardization, common KPIs in order to be able to measure the sustainability impact on their operations. And so I think this is very important. The NGMN Alliance is working very, very hard on this topic, and we heard great insights from Anita as well on this.
A lot of talks yesterday as well about the need to recruit new talent for the industry. And it's not easy to do, is it? I mean, every industry out there is facing a shortage of skills and this war for talent, really. So, Guy, based on the discussions we've had here, what do you think, what are the steps that the industry could take in order to address this issue of needing fresh talent and attracting
it's really important, and the industry's known about this for quite some time, and it's known that it's moving towards a more software-based industry. So a lot of the old telecom skills, they're still crucially important. They're really important, but there's also new skills, which is the software. And when you look at the pool of emerging talent and software engineers and programmers, the best ones, where do they want to work? And they've got to realize they have a choice. The best people in the business will have a choice, and they will look around, and they may be seduced by the likes of Google, Facebook, Amazon, thinking that's the best environment for them. And it's not just salaries, it's not just perks, it's having an enjoyable career and a career, and not just a job but a career, something with like project based they can make an impact in. They don't just want to work for the sake of work, they want to feel important and empowered, and telcos are realizing this, and they are making steps. But it's not just new graduate talent, it's also existing talent they're looking to retrain. Not everybody wants to retrain or can retrain. Some people want to retire and move on and do other things. But for those who do want to, there's got to be this circle of this sort of retraining and lifelong learning that feeds into it all. But there is a shortage of key talent, and it's not just about throwing money at the problem. They've got to create that environment and make sure they're doing something worthwhile. It's a difficult area, and it's difficult for telcos, and we heard on the sessions a number of the speakers have different approaches about how they engage as well, whether they go to graduate fairs, whether they just take the marketing teams, whether they take their engineers. So the engineers can talk to graduates, whether they use some new social media platforms that the senior management probably don't even know exist. So there's a lot of different ways, and they are addressing it, but they need to speed up, I think.
Yeah. And another way, I guess, to attract new talent to the industry is to recruit people from different sectors. I mean, Alexandra Foster, for instance, started her career in financial services, for instance. And I was thinking throughout that, of course, the industry always attracts many engineers, but it also needs data scientists, doesn't it? And skills from the tech industry.
Yes, absolutely. They do. And the emergence of AI as well, you've got to be able to use that. It's a tool. You've got to be able to be familiar with data. There's huge amounts of data in telco networks. So they're all siloed together. And that's got to come together. They've got to do a bit more with that data. So data scientists, yes. And a lot of, as you say, a lot of those talents exist outside the telecoms industry. So absolutely the telcos should look elsewhere for talent and ideas.
Yeah, that's important. Yanni.
If I can add something, actually, Alexandra Foster from BT had we were having a networking casual drinking event in the evening after the sessions. She suggested that women in telco and in the tech industry in general should kind of get together. We had a group photo, if you remember that, and she suggested that it would be great to focus and pay attention on women in telco and what we can do to encourage more women to join and to have this setting of diversity and inclusion and to really bring that to the forefront of the industry.
And still on the skills issue, let's call it a challenge, okay? Let's be a little bit more positive about it. Vodafone CTO Scott Spetty talked yesterday about the need to train software engineers in-house. Tell us more about it, Yanni.
Yeah, so basically software engineering talent in-house, developers, this is very important. There is shortage across the industry, not just in the UK, everywhere. So what needs to happen is the telco industry needs to make sure that it is welcoming and it is having the right approach to really entice people, to encourage people to enter, to be curious about this industry, because it's an old sector. Yeah, we get it, but also it's innovating, it's constantly developing, and it's constantly trying to bring something new. And it also has a great important service for communities. It needs to connect people, and it always does. So I think people will be encouraged to enter and to develop new services and develop software products if they are committed to something that's bigger than them in terms of a mission to connect the world.
Thank you very much, Yanni. Guy, I understand you may have to leave us.
I know, I've
Very
only just
soon.
arrived as well, but we've got to start the show. So,
Absolutely, the show's starting in a few minutes now.
Absolutely, so I
other
better
show.
go and dash. But I promise I'll come back at the end of the day.
Please do,
Will
okay?
do.
We'll need a
Thank
wrap
you.
up and your conclusion after this great event, okay? So good luck. The first session of the day, Guy, it's called Creating a Framework for the AI Native Telco. What can we expect?
It's the topic people want to talk about, and it's probably the most complex and tricky one to discuss. So there's going to be a lot of people listening very intently to see what's being said on stage. It's one not to miss.
Did you hear that? One not to miss, and it's starting in a few minutes. Off you go then, Guy. Thank you so much. Have a great first session. Yanni, any thoughts on the theme of creating a framework for the AI native telco?
Yeah, I think AI is a very big topic, not just in the telecoms industry, in any industry. We know and we see a lot of concerns over the world about the impact of ChatGPT and the likes. It's going to create and transform industries. It's going to transform our day-to-day lives. It is yet hard to predict and to tell how exactly this will happen, but we're going to see that. And I think the telco industry just needs to move fast, adapt quickly, and obviously it needs to have the right skill set, the right talent to be on board of all these changes.
Yanni, thank you very much. It was great to have you here on Extra Shot. I believe you're also going to have to go quite soon. And of course, we will be joining you across the room during the day to find out what's happening by the pinball machines and the coffee van, of course, a big hit always at the DSP Leaders World Forum 2023. We're about to start the first session of the day. So enjoy, and please do remember to send in your questions, your comments, to answer the polls, vote, and of course you can watch all this content on demand on telecomtv.com. Have a great second day.